Sorry. I am ready whenever you are.
Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines workmanship as something affected, created, or produced. Ephesians 2:10 says, "For we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." Because we are God's workmanship, God has created us, made us holy, and has a plan that He will implement us in. I picked Ephesians because I think it does a good job of describing our relationship with God as His holy creations. I think it's incredible how we are compared to His workmanship and as like a piece of His artwork and something that He has created by hand. I think that the intricacy and workmanship of God's hand is very evident in everything that we see, especially in us. And a great example is the eye. So using my visual aid, which is a diagram from the National Eye Institute, you can see that the eye has many different parts. The eye has many different parts, and this is just a small section of our body. And without any of these parts, the eye would not be able to function or do its job. And if one piece is missing, it's not going to work. And this is just one small part of our body. And our bodies are very complex, and God made us this way. And I think it's incredible that He did that. And He was able to create us wonderfully and visually. This amazing relationship between God and His people is even apparent when this verse was written. According to the Complete Guide to the Bible by Stephen M. Miller, this letter was a letter written to the church of Ephesus from the Apostle Paul. Paul wrote this around 60 to 62 AD, and this letter was praising the Ephesians and the church of Ephesus for being good Christians and for being faithful to God. And even though Paul was probably in chains or under house arrest during this time, his language is still upbeat and happy when he wrote this. Ephesians 5:2 is thought to be the main theme of this book, and it says, "Walk in a way of love just as Christ loved us." This message of love and personal creation conveyed by Paul is seen in other sections of the Bible also. Jeremiah 1:5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you a prophet to the nations." This verse bears reassurance to us that God is always with us. He has known us since conception, and He will always be there for us. God made all of us personally. Now, if you'll refer to your handout that I created using information from the Wisconsin Right to Life website, you'll see the in-depth process of God weaving us together in the womb. In 9 months, we go from 2 cells being joined together in fertilization to being a fully functioning organism with different organ systems. By the 2nd month, we are 10,000 times our original size, and by the 4th month, we are 8 inches tall and can suck our own thumbs. God's hand is evident in all that we have, like in our creation and all that we do. Not only has God created us, but He has also made us new in Christ. 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come." This tells us that even though we are His creations and we have been soiled by sin, He makes us new by His hand. As He has made us perfect and holy in His sight, He sustains His creation continually. Philippians 1:6 says, "And I am sure of this, that He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion at the day of Jesus Christ." This verse brings the theme full circle, as He has created us, has made us holy, and now He will bring us to completion at the last day. As He continually strengthens us with His hand, it's like He is making touch-ups on His masterpiece of a painting, because we really are His creation. He is always there working on us. Although we may not always feel like masterpieces, God will always use us as His creations as part of His greater plan. A great example of this is the story of Gideon, as God uses His creations to do His bidding. Judges 6-8 tells the story of the Israelites having to rise out of the hands of the Midianites. God called on Gideon to be His warrior, but Gideon did not believe in himself because he was the runt of the family. But God knew that Gideon was capable because God had made Gideon, and He knew his capabilities better than him. He knew his limitations and gave him the strength. The lessons that these verses and story teach us can be applied to all of our lives. This theme can be applied to both believers and unbelievers' lives. The theme reminds us that we are made and are holy in His sight. And for unbelievers, the idea of remembering to be yourself is not a new concept. Pop culture champions us to always be unique and to be ourselves and to never change. Ephesians 2:10 says, "For we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." God has created us as our own individual masterpieces, has made us holy through Him, and will sustain us to the last day, as He uses us in His greater plan. We are in and made by the palm of His hand.
Thank you very much. Give him a round of applause. Thank you, Vincent. And